There's a snippet of a movie in which two young men are making their way through the ruins of a church. The church has not been used for a long time, and one friend says to the other, "People used to go to church to find answers. Now no one goes to church." And his friend replies, "Yeah, now they go to Google. He's the God who actually has the answers." Sometimes we get fooled into believing that the world has better answers than the church. It's only when we buy into those lies that we realize that the church has better answers. Like we say, if we look for the truth in wrong places, we're going to necessarily look for love in the wrong places. The reality is that love became incarnate. That's Christmas. And in the church, we find Christ, we find love, we find truth, we find God incarnate. And that's what Advent is for, to help us discover more deeply the truth and God's love. There's the story of Cardinal O'Malley, the Archbishop of Boston. One Saturday, when he was a priest down in Washington, D.C., he was stationed at the cathedral. And one Saturday, a bride appeared, and he says, "I could tell she had been crying." And he asked her, "What's the matter?" And she said, "Father, there's not going to be a wedding. My fiancé is in Buffalo, New York, and they have 6 feet of snow. So would you please go and tell the people that there will be no wedding? They should go directly to the reception." So the priest, Father O'Malley, went to the pulpit, said, "There'll be no wedding." And there was a gasp. "But there will be a reception." So they all went off to the reception. And the cardinal says, later in the day, while visiting the Blessed Sacrament, it occurred to him that that wedding was a parable of what Christmas has become. He says, we have the lights, we have the music, we have the gifts, we have the food, we have the celebration, and the bridegroom is in Buffalo. He says that the church has given us the Advent season to rescue the bridegroom and bring him back to the party. Like St. Augustine of Hippo 1,600 years ago said, that to fall in love with God is the greatest romance. To seek Him is the greatest adventure. To find Him is the greatest human achievement. Like the pursuit of God's wisdom may not lead to riches and earthly honors. In fact, in the lives of many saints, it contributed to their martyrdom. But the martyrs were wise in preferring to die for Christ rather than live only by denying Him. All the rewards their tormentors could offer would rust. They would lose their beauty. And they would always be a poor exchange for the integrity of following Jesus Christ. And so the world is kind of cynical and indifferent, and that can sap our spiritual energy. Our hearts can grow cold. Without passion, without zeal, without fervor, we are lifeless, and it's very easy to cast faith aside. That's right. But like we say, this season of Advent is a time to renew the romance. We need the kind of passion that turns us into willing fools, people who really couldn't care what the world thinks. They say, what other people think is none of our business. If He holds my heart, I need nothing else. And the truth is, you and I are being pursued. Okay, they say God wants to marry you. Okay, He's the hound of heaven. And the more I attend to His affection, the more I am drawn to Him. This is the love that turns ordinary people into saints. This is the love that turns you and me into the hands and feet of Jesus Christ in the world. And that's the invitation of the prophet Isaiah at the beginning of the Advent season. He says, "Come, let us climb the Lord's mountain." The Lord's mountain is the spiritual life. Okay? Climbing the mountain climbing allows for no distractions. Okay? Come, let us be engaged in the high adventure of the spiritual life. The prophet says that he may instruct us in his ways and we may walk in his paths. Today, the prophet Isaiah asks us, what is your highest mountain? What is your first love? And then calling us out, he says, "O house of Jacob, come let us walk in the light of the Lord. Let us go up to the Lord's mountain."